Transcripts and recordings of the podcast may not be used for any purpose without the direct written permission of the podcast owner. Welcome to LITE It Up, a podcast about resilient women balancing motherhood, their careers, personal lives, and all of the challenges that come along with being a superwoman. Each week, you'll be motivated to take action to lead, inspire, transform, and empower. Now, here's your host, Dr. Aginah Musherah. Hey, everybody. Welcome to a new episode of LITE It Up. I am your host, Dr. Aginah Musherah. I'm so excited that you decided to join me for this week's episode because, as you know, we are talking about all things scholarships during the month of November because it is National Scholarship Awareness Month. Last week, I gave just some helpful, quick, simple tips on how to get started with the scholarship process. But this week, I have an expert, I call her an expert in the field of helping to support young people and families as they navigate high school, well, middle school, high school, and then their post-secondary education. But today's guest is Nicole Brookens. She is the Executive Director of Plan4Success. Welcome to LITE It Up, or welcome back to LITE It Up, Nicole. How are you?
I am doing well. Thank you for having me a second time.
Yes, thank you so much for answering the call to come on to the podcast to share some tips and helpful information for families. We're in the college application season and then also the scholarship application season because we know that in order to go to college, we need money to pay for it. And so that's one of, I think, probably the biggest challenges that many families face is trying to figure out how they're going to pay for their children to go to college. You are an expert in this area because you have two college graduates of your own, so one who just graduated this past May from Michigan State University.
Yeah.
So you've been like a great support to me as I've been going through this process for the last 4 to 5 years as far as um, searching for scholarships, securing scholarships. So I wanted to get your insight so that you could share nuggets with our families who are tuning into the podcast to get this information. So why don't you just take a moment to, for those who don't know about Plan4Success, if you could just share with us what Plan4Success does and what's the targeted population of individuals that you work with.
Sure. So at Plan4Success, we build pathways that prepare our youth for college, career, and community leadership. We do this by enhancing opportunities at the intersection of resource sharing, professional development, and civic engagement. We don't reinvent the wheel, we just connect our students to it. Um, we just finished a college series with our seniors. We did resume writing, brand statements, and LinkedIn pages as the foundation of their scholarship journey. I mean, of their application journey. And then we did essays, and we talked about essays for not only their Common Apps, but for scholarships. And then we ended with talking about scholarships, where to find them, how to find them. And Dr. Muhammad already shared so many gems on how to get this process started and going, for not only your student, but for the family to participate. Because every dollar they don't get, you have to pay.
Right.
So
Yeah. That's
get
exactly.
involved.
So I would say, you've helped plenty of students through Plan for Success navigate the scholarship and college preparation journey. So for families who may be just getting started, they're new to the process, this may be their first student, who's preparing for college, where's the best place for them to begin? Where's the best place to begin?
Yes. So one of the first things that we share with our seniors was a scholarship tracker. And in that scholarship tracker, together, we combine scholarships that we found other places through Dr. Muhammad. We've been doing this thing for a while now, so we've collected a list of it. But it's almost like a part-time job. So to get started, to stay organized, to keep everybody on one page and one accord, it's best to have a spreadsheet where it lists out the scholarship name, website, essay question, when it's due, the notification of when you'll get the award or be notified. Once you start with that spreadsheet, then you have a running tally of who you need to apply to and when.
Hmm.
And that's the first part of organization because scholarships come in. You can hear about a scholarship at the end of this podcast that has a deadline tomorrow or the next day, and you have to stay ready so you don't have to get ready.
That's exactly right. Now, in terms of the organization process, um, and preparing to apply for scholarships, can you kind of walk us through like what does that really mean to get organized for the scholarship process? Like, can you walk us through what families need to have in place before the scholarships even open? You mentioned the tracking sheet, to list the scholarships, but is there anything else that needs to be in place before they even get started?
Yes, I recommend a file folder. We had a file system for both of my kids, and I teach this to the kids in or the youth in Plan for Success. You have to have a little section in your house, a little folding table, a side of a shelf, whatever, that's strictly geared towards scholarships. And in every scholarship, you're going to need the information for the scholarship. You're going to need a transcript. You're going to need one or two letters of recommendation. There are some scholarships where you still have to send it in through snail mail.
Mm.
So you got to have that sealed transcript. I went to both of my kids' schools and said, "Hey, can I have some sealed official transcripts?" I think at the time they were $3 a transcript, and I would get 10 at a time, depending on how many scholarships I applied to. But in this section, I also would ask teachers to give us a letter recommendation because they want to send it directly to the scholarship. And I explained to them, we're about to apply for about 50 scholarships. So it would be most useful if you could give us a letter of recommendation on school letterhead. And as we apply, if there's something I need, I can circle back. But if not, I won't have to bother you 50 times when you have other students on the roster. So at both schools, they obliged us. So on our table, we had some brown envelopes, the large brown envelopes. And when it was time for a scholarship, we would just grab the letter of recommendation, her resume, the anything else I needed from the school in terms of transcript. With the essays, we wrote 3 to 5 different essays and we just edited. We didn't recreate essays because
Yeah.
they're all the basic questions. If you go on the Common App and write an essay for each of those questions, not just one, you have all your essays for your scholarships because they're typically the same questions.
And case in point, even with the Common App questions, because like you said, there are 7 questions for the Common App questions. Typically, those questions remain the same. I don't think they've changed in the last 3, 4 years, if memory serves me correctly. And so, yeah, if you take a topic or answer each one of those questions, you've got something that you can just whip out and tweak it as necessary based upon the essay question. One thing that I want to add, as you mentioned, making sure that you have copies of official transcripts and the letter of recommendation and the resume, right? The other thing that is very important, your child needs a professional headshot,
That part.
not a selfie,
Yes, 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 yes,
a professional headshot, clear whether it's a school picture or what have you. But all scholarship programs are going to ask that you upload a headshot because when they make the announcement of who was awarded a scholarship, they need your headshot. And what you don't want is a selfie of you in the car or at the park or where have you.
yes. We have gotten photos in the white sleeveless t-shirt and jeans. We've gotten headshots where people think they have a fit on with a hat and a whole what they call a fit, but a fit doesn't align with the scholarship that you're applying to because they're looking for a more professional look. I've had people screenshot their school picture with proof across the zip photo.
Oh, wow.
So getting photos has been like a very tedious, strenuous, stressful thing to do with some of our scholars. And some people just didn't get the scholarship because they didn't upload all the necessary information. And may I add, even if they say a resume is optional, always include a resume.
Yeah,
They say it's optional, but it's not optional. It
right.
gives the person looking at your scholarship application a bird's eye view to more in depth of who you are.
Hmm.
So
And for anyone who may think, what if your child doesn't have a job, for example? The resume can be inclusive of what organizations and clubs are they involved in? What type of community service have they been involved in? So those are the things that you
yes,
want to,
yes, they could be the babysitter. They could.
right.
It's anything that you've done that shows leadership, participation in something, organizing something. And if they don't have that in this moment, it's not hard to get it. Join any of the
Yeah.
organizations like Plan4Success, Links Unlimited, Ladies of Virtue, Polished Pebbles. There are so many organizations. The Urban Male Initiative, Champs Mentoring. There are so many organizations where you can get involved, get community service hours. Those things of what you did to get community service hours could go on your resume. Um, and if you need to build it, it's no better time than now. Get going.
Right. So so we've got the components of what they need to get started, and you actually when you talked about organization and having a table set aside where you've got everything in order, I do remember that. I I
See that, right?
remember going through that, and you helped me out with that to get organized because we were doing this two at a time back in fall of 2021, right? So I had no other choice but to be organized so I wouldn't go, go crazy. But one thing that I also wanted to kind of point out too, um, just even with the headshots, you can also, we all have cell phones, right? You can take a picture, a photograph up against a wall. Just make sure you have on nice shirt, you know, and you could use Canva to create your background, your professional background, if you're unable to go to like a JC Penney portrait studio or something, or have a photographer take a professional picture, you can create that professional picture headshot.
Yes. And to your point, for my son on his first day of his official postgraduate job. Um, he was getting ready to leave, and right outside our house, there were some trees behind him. We took a picture, and that is currently his LinkedIn photo.
Yeah. 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 Yes.
He had his
Exactly.
nice shirt, his
Mhm.
brother shirt on, and his pants. He was dressed
Mhm.
in a business attire. So
Right.
no better time than then to do it, and it came out so good that he currently uses it as his LinkedIn page photo.
Perfect. So, some helpful tips for you all that's not going to break the bank, that's simple that you can use. Now, you mentioned talking about the essays and perhaps answering the questions from the Common App so that you'll have some essays already prepared. So when it comes to writing the essays, many students feel overwhelmed. So just even thinking about, I got to write this 750 word essay, 1,000 word essay. What are some strategies for preparing early and telling a compelling story that stands out? Because that's the whole idea also when you're applying the scholarships, is to make sure your story is compelling and stands out so that you're selected. So, what are some strategies that you can share to help students who may be overwhelmed with that entire process, just the idea of getting started?
Yeah. So we actually did a workshop on essay writing, and we broke the essays down by. I shared a few short stories, but I'll just say most people want to hear your authentic story,
Mhm,
and we all have a story of whatever that is. I brought up the point of Michelle Obama, her story to Princeton or any other school she applied to revolved around her relationship growing up on the South Side and how the people in her family and in the neighborhood and all around her shaped her to become the person she was at that time. And so with my children, I made sure that they told authentic stories geared to them. And so one quick example, my son went to University of Chicago, one of the best schools in the country, but at the same time he had three cousins shot in the city of Chicago. So he started his essay, Shots Fired.
mm,
Since my freshman year of high school, I had three cousins shot in the city of Chicago. He said their names and then he said, I choose to take a different shot. And so he was a basketball player, he was a caddy, and something else. So those were the 3 points of his essay. And in our essay writing workshop, I showed our teens how to break down a essay. We started in the body where we picked the question. Then we say we need 3 points of what story you're going to tell about this question. And we put that in the body. Once we created that information, we went back, wrote the introduction, and then looked at everything and wrote the conclusion. Because sometimes thinking about something is breaking it down in pieces,
mhm, mhm.
and it's how you eat an elephant one bite at a time. And so we did that, and at the end of the workshop, in less than 2 hours, one student created a 650-word essay
Wow.
in that time.
Okay. Now, so with the scholarship search process, um, what are, I guess, sometimes, folks are wondering, like, how do they even find the right scholarship, right? Or to apply for. Um, I don't want to say what's a good fit because typically you're looking at GPA, if there's a requirement for your major, or because typically that's what it is. It's a GPA requirement. Typically they're asking, they may have scholarships for specific majors. Um, what are, I guess, how can students find scholarships? Where should they search? Now, in my segment from last week, I shared like Scholarship America, UNCF, Thurgood Marshall, but of course there are other, search engines for scholarships to utilize. But what recommendations would you give? Because I think that's one of the questions that folks have. They may not necessarily care about all of the other stuff that we're providing. They just want to know where do you find the money, right?
Yes.
But we're sharing this information that you need because you can go to where you find the money, but you need to make sure that you have a well put together application so you can get the money. So it's just as important where to find the money, but it's also important preparing that package. But do you have any suggestions on, whether local community-based opportunities, are there like larger scholarships that you're aware of that folks should try to channel their search to?
Yes, absolutely. So, one of the things that you want to do when you're on a scholarship hunt, sometimes scholarships find you. So, in this endeavor to find these scholarships, everybody want to go for the Coca-Cola, the Gates Millennium, but you would be surprised at how going after smaller scholarships will allow you that will add up and allow you to potentially pay for scholarships we got for my daughter's senior year, paid the 17,000 she owed, and she had money to get stuff to take and buy for her dorm room. So the scholarships are out there. Everybody will tell you that. But what they don't say is you got to work for it. And part of that work is building relationships with people and your network to find those scholarships. You are, everybody knows somebody that graduated before and got scholarships. Ask people in your network, parents, ask your friends, where did you get scholarships? Write those things down. In addition to that, foundations like Plan4Success. We gave every teen advisory board member and every college advisory board member a scholarship this past year. And one of the things that you want to do, there are so many organizations, foundations, churches, other places that give scholarships. You got to seek those out. When you decide which school you will attend, or you not even sure, take your top three, get on all their Instagram pages, get on all what, connect to them on LinkedIn, and follow what they're saying and doing because they post scholarships. For example, there was a scholarship at an organization at Michigan State, and I saw it and I told my daughter about it. She got a care package, then she got a scholarship, then she got another scholarship, and it was just minimal participation
Mhm.
for her to participate in this organization to be eligible for these scholarships. You also got to ask your department. So if you are a business major, or I know Dr. Muhammad's daughter was able to get a scholarship from her college that's paying her tuition. So if you don't get any of those scholarships, websites, everybody asks me which websites are credible. If you don't know anybody that has gotten a scholarship from that link, then it's probably not good. There is a mom, Scholarship Mom. She's
Mhm.
a great resource for scholarships. Look her up and follow her, reach out to her. Her and her husband love helping young people and families with scholarships, and she's been able to help some students get full rides to different schools. And you just got to work at it. You got to get those spreadsheets and you got to meet those deadlines. You got to stay organized and just go after them.
Yeah, I was gonna say too, one thing that when you mentioned like the department scholarships. So when now I know for a lot of students, they're probably wondering as far as ACT scores and SAT scores, for example, if they're applying for scholarships at the institution or want to be considered for scholarships from the institution that they're applying to. Some schools are still test optional, even from COVID, never went back to making those test scores required. But here's the thing that you may not find out until it's too late. The way you're considered for merit scholarships in most cases is by submitting your ACT or SAT test scores. So, for example, just today, a student shared with me that she's enrolled in our dual enrollment program, and she shared that she was admitted to Alabama A&M. Well, she submitted her ACT scores. She's been admitted to the institution, but in order for her to qualify for a scholarship that's gonna give her a full ride, she needs to retake so that she can boost her score up. She has an opportunity to resubmit her test scores. So I also want you all to keep in mind when trying to decide on whether or not to send test scores in, just know that even if the school says it's test optional, you may not be considered for merit if you don't send those scores in if you're looking for institutional scholarships. For the purposes of what we're talking about in terms of where to find scholarships, when you're talking about external scholarships, I don't, some may ask for SAT or ACT scores, but not that much. It's mostly your GPA that they're interested in and or your major. Now, in Aaliyah's case, when she was applying to schools, of course, that was right as we were coming out of COVID. Um, she submitted her test scores, but we set up, and I would encourage parents to do this. If there's a specific institution that your child is like really leaning towards, try to set up a meeting with the department chair or the director of undergraduate studies for their respective major, because this is an opportunity for them to get to know your student outside of what they've been submitted on paper to be admitted. And when they see opportunities that come before them, they're going to remember, oh, I met with such and such on this date, or, you know. And so Aaliyah met with the department chair for business, and when it was time for the scholarship specific to incoming freshmen for the College of Business, she was on the list, got the email to be invited to apply for the scholarship. She got her scholarship application in early. That's the other key. Get them in early because you want to be at the top of the list for them to review your materials.
And
So,
can I
mhm,
just add to that? Can I just say one of the most important things you can do is build relationships. And I hear people sometimes thinking um, having a network is transactional. It's not transactional. People have worked hard to get the resources that they have, to gather the information that they've done. Some of that stuff take years. And you can't just walk up to that person and say, "Give me what you got."
right.
Because we all have to work for it. We'll all help you get there. But building your network and and um, people that can support you in your village is building those relationships authentically.
Absolutely. Mm,
Um, and I can't stress that more than anything. And that's why at Plan4Success, we have leaders that lead our teen cohort, that lead our college cohort, because we just give them the foundation and we're trying to help them develop these leadership skills. And we have so many parents that say, "Oh, my kid can't do this. I'm trying to get them to do that." Well, that's what we do. We're that second voice, and the village should be that second voice saying, "Hey, we got you. You take one step, I'm right behind you." We have to cheer for each other's success, but it starts with building that network and having relational um, networks
mhm.
that you can build on, because you got to build it at the school, you got to build it with foundations, you got to build it. They're starting their LinkedIn journey, they should be connecting to your the parents, people, and
Mhm.
other people that they meet in different foundations. The schools, they should follow the schools, because you'd be surprised how many people look at that LinkedIn page. So
Right. Yeah.
People have contacted me about students, about other people on LinkedIn for different opportunities. So build that network and those authentic relationships.
That is very, very important. It really is. Um, what would you say are some of the biggest mistakes or missed opportunities when you see students apply for scholarships? Because as you mentioned, Plan for Success does offer scholarships to students. Don't know if you want to share like how many scholarships you all have awarded over the years. And I know my family participate in the Legacy Scholarship where we um, we give a scholarship to a young Black male in honor of my late father. So when students are applying, because you see countless hundreds, thousands of applications, what are some of the biggest mistakes or missed opportunities that you see when students are applying?
I think the biggest thing is people not completing the application. They think they can skip some questions or upload one document, don't upload the other documents. So I think the biggest missed opportunity is having a complete application. You have to answer every question. If the question doesn't apply to you, you still have to put NA in the box, which means not applicable.
Mhm.
So that's the biggest mistake. The second thing is they don't apply because they don't think they qualify, or they don't have time, or they gonna try another scholarship versus our scholarship. And to date, we have awarded 237 scholarships to students for miscellaneous expenses like books, travel to get to school. Early on, we had a student that attended the scholarship ceremony in her dress. As soon as it was over, they had the car packed and they were on their way to Spelman after she got her check. So she changed back into her sweats and they hit the road. Our students need money. Um,
Yeah.
our scholarship is, people have told me that this is the only, out of all the scholarships I applied to, this is the only one that I received.
Hmm.
And then there are scholarships like the Marcus Brashaw Scholarship where they look for people
Yeah.
and they don't have people outside of a certain area that apply, but it's open to everyone.
Hmm.
But you won't know about it if you're not in a relation with somebody. People call me as a scholarship awardee to, they say, hey, you got anybody that got asthma? We've gotten students to get that scholarship. We had another person reach out and say, hey, I'm looking for students to apply for our scholarships. I send names over. But if I don't know you need money because haven't built a relationship with the organization, not necessarily me, but nobody knows your needs, closed mouths don't get fed.
Yeah. And here's the other thing, going back to so not only the relationships and folks asking like, do you know any students who are in need? There are so many scholarships that students don't apply to, or if the deadline has passed, apply for that scholarship anyway if the application portal is still open, because it's still open for a reason, because they probably have not gotten enough scholarship applications. So still apply anyway. The other piece is I'll tell you this, where that scholarship tracking worksheet came in handy for with Kamal. I will full honesty, transparency, because Aaliyah had a full ride. I didn't have her apply to as many external scholarships because if they were going to be sent directly to the school, her scholarship was going to be reduced by the institution. So she applied to scholarships that would be paid directly to her so that she could use that for, she got had to fly back home, to help support the needs that she may have had because she was not working. So that's the other thing you have to look at, like what are kind of the rules with being able to stack scholarships. But Because I had a spreadsheet, and knew what the open and closed dates were for scholarships. There was a scholarship that for this year that I never saw advertised, but I knew that my son applied for the scholarship in 2022 and received the scholarship from an organization. The scholarship was for $300. He got the scholarship. They also offer a scholarship for students when they're in college, so it's substantially more. I knew what the date was because I was going back looking at my list. This is where organization comes into play. And I said to Khalees, even though I never saw it advertised, didn't see anything, I said, Khalees, you need to apply for this scholarship. She got the scholarship.
I know what your organization you're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, like, you can, that's why it's important to have these lists because, especially if you have more than one child or if you want to share, because I send scholarship information to people all of the time, whether or not they apply, I have no control over that, but I do share the information. So that's why it's important to stay organized so that you know what's coming up, what to expect, and how to get, as you say, you have to be ready so you don't have to get ready.
And for every senior that participated in our workshops, we did a three-part series. On the last day, they got a scholarship tracker with over 65 scholarships that they can apply to, which took out probably a month worth of work trying to find them.
Hmm.
So the biggest lesson I'll say is you got to show up. You got to participate. You just can't always come looking for it. Sometimes you got to sit down. You got to learn something you may already have learned, learn something new that you don't know, and then opportunity and resources just start surrounding you. But you got to put those phones down, get off Insta, unless they talking
I,
about
I was about to say, unless they're talking about scholarship.
unless they talking about scholarships.
Right,
You gotta get that network going, build relationships, and keep asking questions.
right. So for families who may be feeling like they're behind or they may feel discouraged, because I've had some people just in the last few days reach out to me saying like I need help. I need to know where to get started, but they feel discouraged before they even get started with the process. What words of encouragement would you offer to help them stay motivated through the process? Because this is not for the weak at all. So what words of encouragement can you offer?
I think the best thing I can say is hard work or continued hard work does not go unnoticed. When you're working hard and you're doing the things that you're supposed to be doing, it's almost like the law of attraction where good things will start to come in your presence and you'll be able to take advantage of those opportunities. So if I can encourage you to just keep trying, it's cumbersome. Senior year, it's a lot going on. That's why I try to do the three-part series, or we try to get things done early so that we won't be, oh, did you do that? Did you do this? Did you do that? And you kind of almost beating a hammer over your kid's head. Try to get things done early. Stay the course. It's going to work out. Every single time it has worked out. So stay the course, be encouraged, but do the work.
Good words. So before we wrap up, how can listeners connect with Plan for Success if they have children who, or access some of the resources you offer to help students prepare for post-secondary success? Like, do you have any other programs? I know you just wrapped up a program last week, but how can I connect with you and what do you have coming up that they may want to be on the lookout for?
Okay, great question. So you can go to our website, plan-4success.org. We are in the process of redoing the website, but if you scroll to the bottom, you'll see teen, college, and different cohorts. You go there and you join a cohort. You can join our cohort at any time during the year, and you will be contacted on the next steps. For our high school students, I just stated that we just finished our 3-part series on the college application process. Once it ended, we ended up doing an internship program webinar for our college students to show the importance of getting an internship, where you can get internships. And we actually created a private professional development group for our students to connect to more internships in our internship tracker. In addition to that, this Sunday, our students are leading another webinar on the importance of studying abroad. So we have a few students, and these panels are student led. The stories and everything come from our students, their experiences, and they shared some gems last week at the internship program. And so I think people were encouraged and felt supported in where to apply, how to apply. Now I can build my network with the other people who were on the call. We share LinkedIn pages because that's how you build your network. So if you want to connect, if you want to see those flyers, I also encourage everyone to connect to our Instagram page because that's where our young people are. So we post more there. It's Plan4Success today. It's a 4 and a 2. Plan, the number 4, success, the number 2, day on Instagram. And you can get all that information. It's not too late to register. They are great events. And then our college students will actually meet up December 27th for our 3rd annual holiday kickback. For our college students, we have a national ambassador program where we have peer leaders on 33 college campuses. And in that, they come together and we just play games, have fun, eat food, and build our network. So join us.
Great. That's great. All right, you guys. Nicole, thank you so much for taking time out of your schedule just to share these nuggets for our parents and for students who may be tuning in because as I mean, again, you just put two young adults through college. You have two college graduates, so you know firsthand about this process of getting children through school as expensive as it is. So, thank you for all of the work that you do and for being a resource to those who need it. So, I want to thank you all for tuning in to this episode of Light It Up. I hope that today's conversation with Nicole Brookens, Executive Director of Plan4Success, inspired you to take action. So, whether it's helping a student get started on their scholarship journey or staying committed to your own path of growth and purpose, remember it's never too early to prepare and it's never too late to dream bigger. So, take the tips that you heard today. Please get organized and approach the scholarship process with confidence and consistency because the opportunities are definitely out there waiting for you. You got to go get it. It's not going to come to you. But if you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe, share, and leave a review. You can also watch this video version if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or iHeartRadio. But if you're listening, you can also watch this version of the podcast on YouTube. And of course, you could connect with me on social media for more resources. So until next time, let's continue to lead, inspire, transform, and empower. And as always, continue to light it up and shine bright like a diamond. Thanks for joining me this week on Light It Up. Make sure you visit my website at www.lightituppodcast.com or www.aginahmuhammad.com. You can also find me on social media using the handle at LITE It Up Podcast. If you like what you've heard, please be sure to hit the subscribe button so you'll never miss a show. While you're at it, I'd appreciate a rating on iTunes, or you can simply tell a friend about the show. Be sure to tune in every Tuesday for a new episode. Until next time, light it up and shine bright like a diamond.